This edition of I-Italy New York is brought to you by
L'energia non si ferma. Mai. L'energia crea. Si trasforma. Diventa un'idea per generare nuova energia. Diamo all'energia un'energia nuova.
and De Cecco pasta. Imported in the U.S. since 1893.
In this week's episode, journalist, writer, and pleasure activist Fred Plotkin tours the latest edition of the New York Summer Fancy Food Show in search of the answer to his question: how do Italians eat today, and how dining has changed in Italy over the past decades? Let's enjoy this tour.
This is Fred Plotkin. I'm at the annual Fancy Food Show at the Jacob Javits Center in New York at the end of June, another hot day in the summer. I'm focusing on Italy. And what I want to know is, how has the way people eat in Italy changed? Not better or worse, although that too, but really the lifestyle differences, the economic differences. What has happened in Italy that makes eating different from the way we in America think Italians eat? When we talk about Italian food, the iconic food, it's not pizza, it's pasta. And I'm with Marco De Ceglie, who is from the De Cecco Pasta Company, one of the most famous and highly regarded brands. And today's subject actually is, how has eating changed in Italy in the past 5 years?
Well, certainly the Italians are becoming more concerned with diet, and they are also becoming to experiment more with non-Italian food. So I would say that the traditional Italian meal composed of 3 courses, a pasta course, then a protein course, and then with vegetables and then fruit, is probably changing, especially in the big cities where working people need to have a lighter lunch. But having said that, certainly pasta is still in the very heart of the Italians. The Italian pasta course has a different relationship between pasta and sauce than like the American will like it. So when you think about a lot of pasta, you have to think that there is much less sauce in an Italian dish preparation. But having said that, certainly going for more pasta, or sometimes going for less pasta but you want more taste, because that's the only thing you are eating for that lunch, for example, as changing the recipes and making a bit them interesting in a sense. People are looking for more spicy or more flavored recipes.
Does the presence of people, immigrants to Italy, legal and non-legal, what impact are all these people having on Italian flavor, but also on food preparation in Italy?
You're touching a very important issue. There are quite significant changes. Think, for example, about in some schools nowadays there are more child of immigrants than Italian natives, which of course is going to change what that school is going to offer for lunch, because they have to accommodate more the different tastes. So certainly Italy is seeing a variety of different products coming in.
Are there significant regional differences now in terms of the way eating has changed, let's say from Milan to Bari or Naples?
Yes, first of all, the working habits, especially you go to the north, is very difficult. People, the cities are big and the working times are very, very, very hard. So people cannot go home to have lunch, and that of course changes a lot the structure, especially of the lunch. Dinner might be different, but lunch is changing. The second factor is also more in the north, women are working, which is a very positive trend, but of course women have less time for the food preparation at home. So this is a striking difference between the north and the south of Italy.
Do we see an increase in food preparation by men at home?
Oh yes, some. I mean, I myself lived alone for many years, so I know how to survive. I know how to go by with some nice food.
A product that I happen to use a lot, and so do many Italians, is pommes. And in Italy, anywhere you go in the supermarket, there are long aisles of jars and containers that contain tomato products, because the tomato is a fundamental product. Think of Italian food without the tomato. It's almost impossible. And Pommi, which is near Parma, is one of the largest producers of tomato products in Italy. In Italia, come ha cambiato il modo di mangiare negli anni recenti, in generale, ma soprattutto col pomodoro?
Innanzitutto l'Italia è il secondo produttore mondiale di pomodoro, quindi oltre ad avere un alto consumo pro capite è anche un grande produttore.
Chi è numero uno?
La California. Però l'Italia esporta oltre il 56% della propria produzione, quindi questo vuol dire che nel pomodoro il Made in Italy nel mondo è assolutamente strategico e importante. Per quanto riguarda il consumo, in Italia c'è una tradizione e nonostante ci sia stata comunque un'evoluzione, i consumi sono rimasti a dei livelli importanti. È ovvio che il pomodoro, che una volta veniva consumato in determinate forme, oggi necessita di quello che è un salto culturale, nel senso che serve un prodotto che sia pronto all'uso. Perché? Perché comunque anche le donne lavorano, i figli sono spesso fuori, quindi c'è meno tempo. Quindi è importante riuscire a garantire un prodotto di altissima qualità dal seme allo scaffale.
I'm speaking, by the way, with Monica Bolchi. La percezione di salute è come legato alla cucina. Com'è in Italia?
Ma diciamo che tradizionalmente abbiamo una cucina sana, quindi a differenza magari di altri paesi siamo ancora molto legati agli ingredienti, all'origine degli ingredienti, quindi sicuramente una cura anche nell'aspetto salutare ancora molto alta.
I'm here with Emanuela Stucchi Prinetti, who I've known and loved and admired for a very long time. What role does oil have for Italians now, not historically?
Nowadays, you know how it is, things are changing, so it's much harder to actually get people to sit at the table and have healthy thinking about food.
And needless to say, we're only talking about Italian olive oil. Is it used now more than before for cooking, as a condiment? How is it used?
It is used more than before, yeah, probably, because if you think back, you know, the olive oil could have been in some cases also a little bit of a luxury. Now Italians will use olive oil to cook daily.
Do you find that you travel throughout Italy that families still eat together the way they did, or is it a special occasion when a family sits at the table?
So much more difficult now. Everybody's working much more, and but they still have a great passion for sitting together.
You might think that the way Italians eat now would include more luxury products or not luxury products. In Italy, aceto balsamico tradizionale, the great balsamic vinegar, is a luxury product, but it is also part of the daily life of many Italians. And I'm with one of the best producers of it, Claudio Stefani, who is with Giusti, one of the oldest brands in Modena. And I'm going to talk to him a little about balsamic vinegar, aceto balsamico tradizionale, but above all, about his own family and how they eat. So, Claudio, good to see you.
Good to see you, Fred.
In the family and beyond the family, how would you say that eating in Italy has changed in the most recent years?
Well, we all needed to be a bit more quick, but nevertheless, there is still a lot of pleasure of cooking. So, for example, often I cook together with my girlfriend. We cook together. I try to arrive in time to help a little or do a pasta myself, and then she does the second. We try to have the children help sometimes. We still eat all together. This is quite common. And what's changed, we don't only eat Italian food. So we may prepare some noodles or some Chinese food, or we may prepare Mexican or stuff like that.
So, do you think that's typical, that Italians are eating more international food?
I can see it when we invite our friends. That is more and more appreciated, and I can see in my friends' taste the fact that they are much more used to eat something different.
Tell me just a little more about how consumption of aceto balsamico is up, down, changed, different in Italy.
Yes. Well, balsamic vinegar, let me do a little parenthesis about Modena, because balsamic vinegar is a typical product of Modena. So it is very much consumed in Modena every day. It is not every day consumed all over Italy. Something like the olive oil for the Tuscan people. Then northern Italy consume a lot of balsamic vinegar in salads. Southern Italy, they still have a culture of wine vinegar, so they don't consume it that much so far.
To my great surprise and pleasure, I ran into Marina Colonna, who I've not seen probably for 20 years. And I admire her products and her work, and I consume her products, but I really have not seen you. I was in your home, I think, in 1991. So that would be 23 years ago. So ben ritrovati, as they say in Italian.
Thank you very much.
Now, do you find that il biologico, organics for Italians, has a meaning and a significance, or is it really something for marketing?
It started as something for marketing, and now it's going really very down to reality. Why? Because, first of all, we had so many pollution and disasters done by the industry. The young kids that are going back to farming for the first time because A, they don't find a job, B, the Italian politics are not helping the young, C, they try to go outside and maybe they go wash dishes in restaurants and things like that, and then they come back frustrated and they want to go back home. D, the parents have a tiny plot of land, and so they start cultivating that, but they want to do something really natural. They're against what has been done for the last century. So this is something that is coming up now, I see. It's very
So it's a positive development.
Absolutely.
Good, I'm glad
Absolutely,
to hear that.
yes.
I'm very interested in the food of Puglia, not only because it's delicious, but I think more than any region of Italy, Sardinia also, but really Puglia, it has the most ancient foods that are still consumed. The types of breads, the shapes, and so on are what they were 2,000 and 3,000 years ago. So I would like to ask Giuseppina, Giusy, to tell me how people in Puglia eat now?
People in Puglia now eat different from the past because life is different. But all the typical products of our region are still available, and there are a lot of companies that still produce in the same way, just like our products, our artisan pasta and the artisan snack that are taralli, and are the typical products of our tradition.
What I find so interesting in many foods in Puglia, such as orecchiette, which are pasta, but also taralli, is that they're shaped as they were thousands of years ago, and they're made entirely in the same way. And there are very few foods, apart from fruit, meat, and so on, basic foods, that are made the way they were thousands of years ago. So, the form of a tarallo, what I find very interesting, this is both a bread and a pasta. It's a wheat product because Puglia grows more wheat than any other region of Italy, by far more wheat. And for that reason, they have this abundance that most of Italy didn't have. If you go to Liguria, there was no wheat, so they used chestnut flour. Other parts of Italy would use buckwheat or corn or millet. But in Puglia was the luxury of wheat, so it's fundamental there to the products. I am with Maria Sarcina, who's from the region of Puglia, and I would like to ask Maria Sarcina what role these traditional classic products play in the cucina, in the cuisine of Puglia.
We love handmade foods, so we used to prepare everything in our house with our hands. So we like even produce our stuffs in house, like artichoke. I think like our artichoke traditional we made in our house, and then we moved this traditional in company which produce for more people than before, because lots of people like those things.
I know that in many families in Italy, there are handwritten recipes, ricette scritte. Do you have that in your family?
Well, I write my recipe to remember. I took with me when I was in UK. I taught my friends how to make things.
So to you, and if I'm wrong, tell me I'm wrong. To you, is maintaining the tradition more important than doing something new in the kitchen?
Yeah, I think so. Because when I prepare, like me, when I was in foreign country, when I was making things, I was thinking to my mother when she was making those things for myself.
Hello, Giulia.
Hello.
You live near Volterra, which is one of the oldest cities in Italy, and with an ancient culinary tradition.
Yes, of course. We are in the middle between Colle Valdelsa and Volterra, in front of San Gimignano. So we are in the center and the heart of Tuscany, where anyway you have a very long tradition in food.
How long in the past do we know that cheese was made around Volterra?
Oh, in Tuscany and in Volterra we start since medieval time to make the pecorino cheese, and also my family anyway has a long tradition because it started in the production of pecorino cheese, and we transform only sheep's milk that came from the area around our cheese farm and only from raw milk.
If I were to ask you one thing that's changed about the way Italians, the whole country, eat now instead of 5 years ago, what one thing has changed?
Well, no, maybe I think that anyway we can find more foodies and more attention to the tradition and to the peculiarity of food in general, I think.
Has the economy affected the way Italians buy their food?
Yes, we can't eat that in Italy anyway. The consumer are decreased because of the crisis. But anyway, we can see also that the people prefer eat less but better.
In my experience in Italy, a major part of the meal always has been fruit. At the end of the meal, you had the dessert of fruit. And in recent years, as Italy has become more internationalized, as they've adapted to touristic preferences, it's not a given that at the end of the meal is fruit. I think that's a terrible change because Italian fruit is some of the best in the world and it's very healthful. And one of the producers I most admire in Italy is Ugo Paoli, who comes from the Trentino, who grows magnificent fruit. Ugo, in Italia una volta si mangiava, credo, molto più frutta di adesso. Secondo te è vero o sbaglio?
Ma secondo me non è vero. Ancora la frutta è ancora, diciamo, che si mangia tantissimo in Italia, perché è un prodotto naturale con degli zuccheri naturali e quindi siamo abituati a questo tipo di alimentazione che è difficile staccarci.
Trovi che la frutta del nord dove vivi tu, cioè mela, pera, frutti di bosco, berries, sono più seguiti o gli agrumi? Secondo te, o uva, cosa si cerca di più?
Ma ogni posto dove vivi hai le abitudini della tua frutta. I frutti di bosco sono ricchi di sali minerali, hanno dei principi attivi molto importanti, perché ad esempio nel mirtillo ci sono gli antociani, che sono i coloranti naturali, che fanno bene alla circolazione, alla vista, alla fragilità dei capillari. Il mirtillo rosso ad esempio è un disinfettante per le vie urinarie, quindi hanno dei principi attivi molto importanti. Poi è ovvio che uno che abita al sud è molto più abituato agli agrumi, insomma, no?
I have my opinion and I'm interested in your opinion. How has the flavor of Italian fruit and vegetable changed in the recent years?
To the best and to the worst, because if you go in big towns, like for example in Rome, and I go to the market in Campo de Fiori, and now you can't go anymore because the prices are huge, the products are kind of bad, so people are trying to go to the countryside, and this new thing about kilometer zero kilometer, so trying to find the veggies and fruits direct from the farmer.
Coffee is an important part of the Italian way of eating, but it's not the only part. You're an Italian, you live in Rome. According to you, how has eating changed in Italy in recent years in terms of food preparation, health, economic issues, and everything else?
Of course, Italian foods changed in the last 10 years, 15 years. We have to distinguish the domestic market and what is we call export. So a lot of the industry in Italy now open their production to the export. So for this reason, readapt their product, not in terms of raw materials, but in terms of preparation. So we try to educate other countries, other people, to prepare foods in Italian style, of course looking to their style. So we try to adapt. It's a problem of taste.
So do you think that if an American or a German or a Frenchman or a Korean eats Italian food in a slightly different way, that Italians will try to adapt to the way they're eating, or to teach them the way Italians really eat?
As we do in a coffee business, we try to educate them to prepare product in the Italian style. I believe the Italian coffee is well represented. So there are a lot of Italians around the world, so we are able to give a real idea about the Italian coffee.
One very short, brief piece of advice to Americans on how to properly make an espresso.
Espresso is a method, so be focused on the method. Choose a good product. Don't waste money in a bad product, in a bad raw materials. So good product and follow the method.
Grazie.
Prego.
This edition of i-Italy TV was brought to you by Colavita Extra Virgin Olive Oil and Baci Perugina Chocolate. Say I love you in the Italian way.
The next week's episode is entirely dedicated to art. We'll meet architect and designer Gaetano Pesce. The exhibition From Street to Art is still available at the Italian Cultural Institute. Steve Acunto will talk about Italian futurism at the Guggenheim Museum. And then, let's celebrate Lavazza's coffee bar opening at the Guggenheim.